My dear friends, I'm Dr. David. After more than 30 years working in major hospitals across America, I've met thousands of patients, each with their own story. But one thing I can never forget: many strokes don't come from nowhere. They come from our daily habits. I remember a man named Thomas, 56 years old. One evening after a small dinner with friends, he went to bed as usual, happy, healthy. The next morning, his wife found him unable to speak, his right side paralyzed. Stroke. No one expected it. He didn't smoke, rarely drank, still went to work every day. But when I reviewed his records, I saw something: his heart rhythm had once been irregular, atrial fibrillation, and he never knew. You see, stroke doesn't only happen to those who neglect their health. It can strike even when you think you're living right. Because the human body isn't a machine, it's a delicate system where everything is connected. A slight irregular heartbeat, a bit of high blood sugar, some fat around the waist, they add up. And one day they knock on your door. I often tell my patients, stroke never happens in a single day. It's built over years of neglect. And if you're listening to this, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, has my body sent me any warning signs I've ignored? Maybe a slight dizziness when standing up, a racing heartbeat at night, or a lingering fatigue you blame on age. Age doesn't kill us, it's indifference that does. I share this not to scare you, but to remind you that stroke can be prevented if we understand its roots, the heart metabolism, and lifestyle. In today's video, I want to explore those hidden causes so that through understanding we can reclaim control over our bodies. Let's begin, because if we start caring just a bit more today, we might avoid the worst tomorrow. My friends, imagine your heart as a grand symphony. When every instrument plays in harmony, the music of life flows smoothly. But when just one musician plays off beat, the entire orchestra falls into chaos. Our heart is no different. Arrhythmia, especially atrial fibrillation, is when the heart loses its rhythm. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes skipping a beat. And the danger is many people never notice. You might just feel a little flutter, a brief fatigue, a pounding heart for no reason, and dismiss it as too much coffee or a restless night. I once had a patient named Margaret, 72 years old. Strong, active, practiced yoga every morning. One day she came to me and said, "Doctor, lately my heart races even when I'm resting. But it goes away, so I didn't check it." When I examined her, she had intermittent atrial fibrillation, a condition that lets blood pool in the heart chambers, forming clots that can travel to the brain and block an artery, leading to stroke. I looked at her and said, "Margaret, our heart is like the conductor of the orchestra. If it loses rhythm, the whole body follows." Many are surprised to learn that atrial fibrillation is one of the leading causes of ischemic stroke. According to the American Heart Association, people with AFib are 5 times more likely to suffer a stroke. The frightening part: most of them don't even know they have it until it's too late. So if you've ever felt your heart racing or had lightheadedness or unexplained fatigue, take it as a message from your body. Don't ignore it. A simple heart check, a smartwatch reading, or a visit to your cardiologist could save your life. I always tell my patients, the heart never betrays you. It always sends signals, you just have to listen. My friends, don't wait until your heart loses its rhythm to start caring. Begin today, listen to your body, get your checkups, and treat your heart as your closest friend. Because only when your heart keeps its rhythm can your life continue to play the gentle music it deserves. My dear friends, if the heart is the commander of the body, then the blood vessels are the quiet highways that carry life to every cell. But there's a silent enemy that slowly damages those roads day by day, and that's diabetes. I once met a man named Robert, 68, living in Texas. He came to see me after a minor stroke. When reviewing his lab results, I saw his blood sugar was just slightly above normal, just a little high, as he said. But what Robert didn't know was that this small number had been quietly eating away at his blood vessels for years. I remember he asked me, "Doctor, how can just a few numbers cause something as serious as a stroke?" I answered with a simple picture. Imagine your blood vessels like the water pipes in your home. When blood sugar rises, it's like thick syrup flowing through those pipes, scratching and wearing down the inner lining. When that lining gets damaged, your body tries to patch it, forming small clots. But those little clots over time can block the flow completely. That's why people with long-term diabetes are 2 to 4 times more likely to have a stroke. Not just because of sugar, but because their entire vascular system is under silent pressure every day, every hour. The scary part of diabetes isn't thirst or fatigue. It's how it attacks quietly, no pain, no warning, until one day it leaves behind numbness, memory loss, or a sudden stroke. I still remember Robert's eyes during his follow-up visit. He said, "Doctor, I wish I had known earlier." I thought avoiding sweets was enough, and that's what many people misunderstand. Diabetes doesn't come only from sugar and desserts. It comes from a sedentary lifestyle, chronic stress, and meals that are too quick, too convenient. But here's the good news: the human body has an incredible ability to heal. Once you start controlling your blood sugar, walk 20 minutes a day, cut back on processed foods, and get enough sleep, your blood vessels begin to recover, become more elastic, and your stroke risk drops significantly. I always tell my patients, it's never too late to change. But the longer you wait, the more tired your blood vessels become. So if you're living with diabetes, don't see it as a sentence, see it as a wake-up call. A chance to start over, to love your body more, and to give yourself a future not interrupted by stroke. My dear friends, through the years, I've met hundreds of patients asking me the same question. "Doctor, I'm just a little overweight. Is that really a problem?" I smile and ask back, if a little dust each day can clog the pipes in your home, can a little fat around your heart and liver really be harmless? Obesity, especially visceral fat, is one of the most silent culprits few people notice. It's not the fat under your skin, but the fat deep inside, wrapping around vital organs like your heart, liver, and pancreas. This kind of fat doesn't just make you heavier, it changes the way your entire body functions. Imagine this: when visceral fat builds up, it's like thick mud surrounding the roots of a tree. The water, or in this case, your blood, can no longer flow freely. Pressure rises, and slowly the whole tree, your body, begins to weaken. I once met a woman named Linda, 63. She didn't think she was overweight. "I still fit in my old clothes," she said. But an MRI showed her liver and arteries surrounded by twice the normal fat. Her blood pressure was high, her LDL cholesterol elevated, and her blood sugar unstable. I told her, "Linda, your body's crying for help. It's just not loud enough yet." Studies show that visceral fat not only leads to diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol, but directly increases the risk of stroke and heart disease. It's the first domino. Once it falls, everything else follows. But the good news is visceral fat is also the easiest to lose when you change your habits. Losing just 5 to 10% of your body weight can cut your stroke risk by up to 30%. No extreme diets, no punishing workouts, just brisk walking, 20-30 minutes a day, eating slower, and sleeping well. Your body will start to rebalance and heal itself. I always believe losing weight isn't a fight against your body. It's a journey to make peace with it. And you know what? After 6 months, Linda came back smiling. Her blood pressure was stable. Her liver fat had dropped significantly. She said to me, "Doctor, I didn't just feel lighter in my body. I felt lighter in my soul." My friends, obesity and visceral fat are not about appearance. They're the body's first signals that something is out of balance. And when you restore that balance, you don't just prevent stroke, you rediscover yourself. My dear friends, I know when it comes to smoking or drinking, many people smile and say, "Doctor, I barely smoke, just a few for fun," or "A glass of wine helps me sleep better." I understand. Life isn't always easy. For many, a cigarette or a drink is a way to ease the stress, to feel a little less lonely. But to your heart and blood vessels, these are the two most dangerous friends you could keep. I once had a patient named Henry, 64. He had smoked for over 30 years. Every morning before breakfast, he'd take a puff and say, "It helps me wake up, doctor." Then one day, while fixing a fence in his yard, he suddenly felt dizzy, couldn't speak, and his right hand dropped. The MRI later showed a stroke caused by a small vessel blockage. What haunted me wasn't the severity of his case, but the years of silence before it happened. Every cigarette Henry smoked released nicotine and carbon monoxide that didn't just constrict his blood vessels, cutting off brain flow, they also damaged the delicate lining inside, like scratching the inside of life's very pipelines. And what about alcohol? A glass of red wine might help you relax, but beyond moderation, it becomes a poison for the heart. Alcohol raises blood pressure, disrupts rhythm, and for those with vascular problems, it's like adding fuel to a fire. I've seen people who drank just a little each day, only to have their hearts enlarge, their rhythm go irregular, and then a stroke struck out of nowhere. I don't share this to judge or take away joy from your life. I share it because every small choice today shapes your health tomorrow. If you smoke, try cutting down one less cigarette a day is already a victory. If you drink, give your body a few alcohol-free days each week. Let your liver, heart, and vessels breathe. I still remember Henry's words during his recovery, "Doctor, now I only breathe the morning air, and it feels better than any cigarette ever did." That made me smile. Sometimes what we think relaxes us is actually the invisible chain holding our health captive. My friends, the human body has a miraculous ability it forgives as long as we start again in time. Let today be the day you let go of one small habit so your heart can beat freely for many more years to come. My dear friends, we all have foods tied to our memories, a warm bowl of soup from our mother, the rich aroma of braised meat, or instant noodles after a long day. Food isn't just nutrition, it's emotion, it's memory. But some eating habits, no matter how familiar, quietly poison our blood vessels every day. I remember a patient named Robert, 70, living in suburban Chicago. He was cheerful, loved salty food, especially pickles his wife made. At every meal he'd say, "Without pickled veggies, food just isn't tasty." But one morning while gardening, he felt dizzy and collapsed. His blood pressure was 210 over 120, dangerously high. When I asked about his diet, he smiled and said, "I don't eat anything bad, just pickled veggies, stewed fish, and instant noodles." That just a little was the problem. The amount of salt he consumed was twice the recommended level. Sodium makes the body retain water, increasing pressure inside the arteries like overinflating a balloon until it bursts. And not just salt-processed foods like sausages, canned goods, instant noodles, and snacks contain trans fats. These fats not only raise bad cholesterol LDL, but also lower the good HDL, stripping blood vessels of their protection. It's like replacing engine oil with water the engine runs, but it's slowly breaking inside. A study from the American Heart Association showed that reducing daily salt intake by 25% can cut stroke risk by up to 30%. That means just one less teaspoon of salt could protect your life. I know changing eating habits isn't easy. Salt hides not only in the shaker, but in sauces, fast food, and even small snacks. But the body adapts. When you gradually reduce salt, your taste buds reset, and soon you'll find that milder food tastes better and feels cleaner. I still remember Robert after 3 months of dietary change. He came back smiling and said, "Doctor, my food tastes less salty now, but my heart beats steadier, and I sleep better." My friends, sometimes what weakens us isn't age. It's the small pleasures we repeat every day without noticing. Start by seasoning a little less, skipping one pack of noodles and adding one more plate of greens, because every meal is a choice between short-term pleasure and lifelong strength. My dear friends, perhaps there have been nights when you've lain awake staring at the ceiling, your mind spinning with worries, work, children, health, or just nameless fears. I understand that feeling. I've met so many people living under constant stress, not realizing their minds are quietly hurting their hearts. I once had a patient named Sarah, 61. She was a teacher who loved her job. After retiring, she thought she'd finally have time to relax, but instead she began to suffer from insomnia. "The quieter I lie, the faster my mind spins," she told me. Every night she slept only 3 or 4 hours. During the day she felt exhausted, her heart raced, and sometimes she got dizzy. Her tests showed high blood pressure even though she had no heart disease history. What many people don't realize is that chronic stress and lack of sleep raise cortisol and adrenaline hormones that constrict blood vessels, increase blood pressure, and cause irregular heartbeats. Over time, the heart works harder like a laborer who never gets a break until it finally wears out. A study from Harvard University found that sleeping less than 6 hours a night increases stroke risk by up to 70%. That number sounds frightening, but what's more frightening is how we treat sleep as a luxury, not a necessity for survival. I asked Sarah, "Have you ever tried putting your phone away, turning off the lights earlier, and just breathing softly in the dark?" She paused and said, "I forgot I had the right to be quiet." Sometimes what our bodies need isn't a sleeping pill, but a little peace of mind, a 15-minute walk each evening, soft music, or 5 minutes of deep breathing. That's all it takes for your heart to say thank you. I often tell my patients sleep isn't just rest. It's when your heart repairs itself after a long day of fighting life. My friends, as we grow older, we often forget to care for ourselves. We care for our families, our loved ones, but forget that our own hearts need love too. If you can't sleep tonight, don't look at the clock. Place your hand over your chest and listen to your heartbeat. Tell it everything's okay. We're safe now. Because when the mind calms, the heart follows, and only then does true healing begin. My dear friends, as I sit here speaking to you through this camera, I'm not just a doctor. I'm someone who's seen too much hearts that stop tears of regret, and also the smiles of those who came back to life because they decided not to ignore their bodies anymore. Over the years, I've learned something profound. The human body has memory and patience. It remembers everything we do, every cigarette, every salty meal, every sleepless night. But it also forgives the moment we choose to change. I once met a woman named Helen, 73. When I first met her, she had given up high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic insomnia. She said, "At my age, doctor, what's the point of fixing anything?" I smiled and said, "Helen, your heart is still beating, isn't it? Then it's too soon to give up." 3 months later, she returned, brighter face, stronger voice. She walked every morning, ate lighter, and slept earlier. Her blood pressure stabilized, her cholesterol dropped. She said, "I didn't get younger, but I feel alive again." That, my friends, is why I believe everybody can heal if we listen to it. Stroke isn't destiny, it's a warning. And sometimes taking one small step back, one less cigarette, one less spoon of salt, one more hour of sleep moves us miles away from danger. I know change is never easy, but every small act matters. When you walk instead of watching TV, you help your blood flow better. When you eat less salt, you ease your heart's burden. When you laugh instead of worrying, you're healing yourself. Today, I don't want you to fear disease. I want you to believe in your body's power to recover. Treat it like an old friend, one that's carried you through every storm of life. And if you give it a little love, it will repay you with peace no medicine can offer. If you're watching this video, pause for a few seconds and take a deep breath. Feel your heart beating in your chest. It's still there, steady, loyal, waiting for you to listen. And if you believe this message could help someone, please share it. Subscribe so we can continue this journey together, learning how to live stronger, calmer, and more fully each day. I'm Dr. David, and I believe every healing journey begins with one simple choice: to listen to yourself.